สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีค่ะ
Excellencies, delegates, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Very warm welcome to the opening ceremony of the Inclusion, Mobility, and Multilingual Education Conference here in Bangkok, Thailand. I am Kenny Nomnian.
I am Jane Ra.
It is our pleasure to be your host for this event.
Before we officially proceed with the opening ceremony, I would like to remind everyone to switch off your mobile phone or put it to silent mode. And now I would like to begin with some safety briefing. This building is equipped with the fire alarm system, smoke detectors, and sprinklers. In case of an emergency, please stay calm and do not use the lift. The fire evacuation team and the security officers will assist you during the evacuation. Please note the exit closest to you and follow the sign which will lead you outside the building. The assembly point is the parking lot outside.
Before we get into the main event, I would like to start with by letting you know about some key points in this event where we could share an experience to share the moment together. First of all, during the event, if you have or use any social media or Twitter, please use the hashtags IMMLE19 to discuss and share your ideas and thoughts through social media platforms. Your conversations will be shared on our live social wall. The Language and Resilience exhibition are located on the 7th floor.
Lunch is provided at the Amari restaurant on the 4th floor. Please have your name badge with you or else it will be difficult to get in. The parallel sessions are divided into 8 rooms. The 3 ballrooms are on the 6th floor, and the 5 rooms are on the 7th floor. Also, there have been some changes in the program, so please check online for the most recent version. For any inquiries, please contact our staff and volunteers.
The Inclusion, Mobility, and Multilingual Education Conference represents an exciting opportunity to discuss, debate, and develop critical issues around language and development facing the world in 2019. This year, for 1 year only, 2 major conference series have been brought together to focus on these important subjects. Number 1, the 13th Language and Development Conference, LDC, which has been running for 25 years, supported by the Language and Development Trustees. And the second one is the 6th Language and Education Conference, also known as Multilingual Education. This conference has been organized every 2 years by the Asia Pacific Multilingual Education Working Group. Over 3 days of this conference, we have explored the role of languages for education and development in 3 themes. The first one, language and inclusion. The second one, language and mobility. And the third one, multilingual education.
Now, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to officially proceed with the opening ceremony of the Inclusion, Mobility, and Multilingual Education Conference. May I invite Mr. Shigeru Aoyagi, Director of UNESCO Bangkok, Asia and Pacific Regional Bureau for Education, on behalf of Asia Pacific Multilingual Education Working Group, to come on stage for the first welcome remarks of this morning.
Good morning. Honorable Minister of Education from Papua New Guinea, Honorable Deputy Ministers of Education in the region, Dr. Kraiserm, Secretary to Minister of Education Thailand, Mr. Andrew Glass, OBE, Country Director, British Council, Thailand, dear colleagues, friends, and distinguished participants. It is my great pleasure to say a few words on behalf of the organizer of this very important conference to you. I'd like to say to you, welcome to Bangkok first, and welcome to this very important conference. As the MC mentioned, this is the first combination of the British Council that initiated the international conference on the language and development, and also the international conference on the multilingual education, language and education that organized so far by the Asia Pacific MLE, the working group. This conference will give you will be giving you very wonderful opportunity to reflect on the role of language in education and wider kind of broader term of development. It is very timely and relevant for us all. That this year, UN declared International Year for Indigenous Languages. And also, every 21st February, we celebrate the International Mother Language Day. And since we adopted the Sustainable Development Goals, Agenda 2030, it's already 5 years past. And it is a time for us to look back and stock take, and then review the progress in all SDGs. And UNESCO, UNICEF, and the colleagues working for education argued quite a lot the role of education in all the 17 goals. And today, tomorrow, the day after, we will discuss the role of language in education and role of language in development. That we are facing the global challenges a lot, many challenges. And one of them is migration and refugees. The mobility is quite high nowadays. Last week, UNESCO organized a very interesting meeting, which is the conference on the recognition of higher education qualifications. The many students move their country and go abroad and study. If you look at the number of inbound students in Asia and the Pacific, in the year 2004, we had only 350 students going abroad, coming to Asia and the Pacific. In the year 2017, the number increased, and then we saw more than 600,000 students are coming to this region to study. The mobility is very high. So the question is how the education system can address the issue of these students coming from different countries. They have a lot of challenges in terms of English and the literacy in host country, in terms of getting the basic services, access to the academics, and also how to live in their daily life. Language matters quite a lot in the mobility of higher education. Migration. I worked in India for 5-6 years, and I saw the great impact of mobility of the people. In India, it is said that more than 300 million people moving inside the country for many reasons, economical reasons, marriage, family reasons, but the people face quite often the difficulty in communicating and getting the basic services in different places. Again, language matters quite a lot. In terms of education, UNESCO has been working with many Asian countries, along with UNICEF, to address the issue of out-of-school children. In SDG 4, we are trying to provide education to every child, every youngster, every adult throughout life. But if we look at the people still outside of school, we have the very shocking figure, which was declared by the UNESCO Institute of Statistics last month. According to the recent figure, we still have 258 million children and youngsters aged from 6 to 17 are out of school. In ASEAN itself, we have 3.2 million out-of-school children at primary level and 4.6 million students out of school at lower secondary level. This is a huge issue for us. For that purpose, the Ministry of Education Thailand host the first ASEAN conference for out-of-school children and youth last week. UNICEF is one of them, one of the organizers. And then we discuss how we can address these issues. What is the reason? Who are they? And we understand, we recognize many of these out-of-school children belongs to refugee family and under migration. If you look at west of Thai border, we have the students from Myanmar could not, and from Laos could not have the education in their own languages quite often. If you look at the south, in the border of Malaysia and Thailand, we have a lot of students who are suffering from the education system who could not succeed in providing the education in their mother languages. UNESCO, along with the Ministry of Education Thailand, started mobile literacy to these out-of-school children in the south and west, in the 4 provinces in this country: Phuket, Raya, Songkhla, and Kanchanaburi. In these provinces, we provide multilingual education through mobile application. We understand many studies are saying that early level education should be provided in their mother languages. That will increase effectiveness and access to education. The learning outcome, quality of education, the big issue. Again, the language could play a very important role to increase the learning outcome. This conference will discuss the role of language towards education, towards broader development agenda. I just talked with the Honorable Minister of Papua New Guinea, who mentioned they have around 800 languages in their country. I was just asking Honorable Minister, is there any kind of the risk to lose some of these 800 languages? And the minister answered to me, which was very good answer to me, the community is very strong to protect their languages. So they will survive. It's a really, really powerful word to me and to you. Language is not just a communication tool, as we all know. Behind the language, we have history, we have culture, we have identity, and we have pride. Sustainable Development Goals and SDG 2030 try to create a world and future where nobody is left behind. And I believe language is one of the most important elements to create better and peaceful future. Because if we should create the world no one left behind, we have to respect our culture, our history, our pride, our identity. I know you have a lot of cases, a lot of kind of the reasons why we have to protect and preserve language in the education system and development system. Mother language is really, really the starting point to create better future. Nelson Mandela once said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And he also mentioned, if you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. If you talk to him in his language, that goes his heart. Language itself, to me, is a very vulnerable thing. Very precious, but very vulnerable thing. But very powerful tool to promote access to education and increase the learning outcome, the quality of education. And we believe education, SDG 4, is the one of most important agenda we have to address in creating better the future we want. I really wish you a wonderful debates and wonderful conversation, exchange of views to identify what we are now here, what is the risk, and what is the benefit and advantage of using or the preserving and maintaining the mother language, indigenous languages, which is the culture and tradition and pride and identity. I wish you all the best in these 2-3 days conversation, and really want to have concrete recommendations, suggestions for UNESCO, UNICEF, and the 8 core, the working group, the group members to bring the wider level of discussion. I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much for your message, Mr. Aoyagi. Now, may I invite Mr. Andrew Glass, OBE, Southeast Asia Cluster Lead and the Director of British Council Thailand, to come on stage for his welcome remarks.
Minister, Mr. Shigeru, Dr. Kraiserm, Excellencies, speakers, delegates, colleagues from partner organizations, everybody, good morning. I'm delighted to welcome over 400 people today to this conference. I'm delighted to be co-hosting this conference in partnership with the UNESCO Asia Pacific Multilingual Education Working Group and on behalf of the Language and Development Conference trustees. We feel very privileged to host this unique event. From an outstanding response to the open call for papers, where we received over 250 proposals from people of almost 50 nationalities, the final program for the next 3 days includes 138 presentations, including plenary addresses from experts across the world, workshops, and an exhibition. I'd like to thank all members of the conference steering committee and all our partners and colleagues from the British Council for everything they've done to get us here today. Hosting the conference here in Bangkok is particularly special this year, as it's the 25th anniversary of the Language and Development Conference series, which started back in 1993 here in Bangkok. Bringing 2 conferences together, the Language and Development Conference and the Languages and Education Conference, has been a uniquely rewarding experience for all of us. And I'd like to thank the trustees of the Language and Development Conference and the UNESCO Asia Pacific MLE Working Group for their faith in British Council. British Council is a member of the UNESCO Asia Pacific Working Group on Multilingual Education and a firm supporter of the Language and Development Conference series, because as a cultural relations organization, we believe that language sustains cultural diversity, connects people, connects cultures, it aids understanding, and it builds long-term trust. And this is integral to our mission. While we are perhaps known better for our expertise and commitment to high quality in English language teaching, learning, assessment, we're also committed across over 110 countries in the world to what international research has shown repeatedly, the desirability of mother tongue-based multilingual education in the early years of schooling. In this way, alongside our work supporting the quality of English language teaching, and let me just give you a notable Thailand example, being our recent 3-year partnership with Thailand's Ministry of Education on the Regional English Training Centres project, developing the capacity of 17,000 primary and secondary school teachers and thereby their students across the whole country. Our work globally also raises awareness of the central role that language policy and practice plays in the achievement of SDG 4, high quality, inclusive education. When we put forward the bid to host the conference, we worked closely with our partners to ensure we chose a theme that is both relevant for this region and for all the other regions from which you are coming. We settled on inclusion, mobility, and multilingual education, the role of languages for education and development. And these three areas affect all of us, no matter which country or region we live or work in. Inclusion. Languages connect and empower, but they also exclude and disenfranchise those who do not speak them. I have worked in 7 different countries around the world and seen these issues in different communities in every single country there. 40% of the world's children currently are required to study in a language they do not understand. And so language policy and choice in schools can be a barrier to inclusive and equitable education. Mobility. An increasingly mobile workforce and increased access to higher education through digital channels or transnational education requires more innovative and inclusive multilingual approaches to ensure equitable access to opportunity. For the 68.5 million people forced from their homes, including 25.4 million refugees, over half of whom are under 18, language is an essential for access to basic services and education, to employment, to inclusion. In 2015, the British Council coined the term language for resilience as a response to the movement of refugees from the Syria crises. And you can find much more about this at the conference and at the exhibition. Thirdly, multilingual education. This is a large focus of our work, particularly in South Asia, and our South Asian team will be launching a new publication on using multilingual approaches at this conference tomorrow. This innovative resource for teachers and teacher educators aims to help move the theory into practice with a goal of more inclusive classrooms, celebrating the rich diversity of our multilingual world. I'm sure you will all agree that these 3 areas resonate strongly. Now, I would like to repeat my sincere thanks to all supporters and partners and organizers once again, and I do hope that you will have very useful and fruitful interaction in the next few days, which will last for many years to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your message, Mr. Andrew Glass, OBE. Excellencies, delegates, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I now have the honor to invite Dr. Kraiserm Tohtubtiang, Secretary to Minister of Education of Thailand, on the stage to deliver the opening address.
Mr. Shigeru, Aoyagi, Director of UNESCO Bangkok, Mr. Andrew Glass, British Council, Excellency, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. Well, good morning and Sawadee krap, everyone. Welcome to Bangkok, Thailand. Well, thank you for giving me the honor of welcoming you all here onto the Inclusion, Mobility and Multilingual Education Conference, exploring the role of language for education and development. I'm impressed that so many organizations and individuals have worked so hard to make this important meeting possible. Strongly believe education should be a high priority for the government. Education is the foundation of economic and social development and the key to achieving the sustainable development goals. Well, yesterday I just came up to the northeastern part of Thailand, joining the school representative for over 500 of them in presenting their own individual studies. And I'm so pleased that I have received them presenting in English, in Chinese, in Korean, in Japanese, even in Vietnamese. They are now very encouraged people, students in Thailand, to study more than 1 languages. And they presented it very fluently. And in terms of communication, this is a wide open